And if we continue the late afternoon slate for Week 12, how about the Raiders and the Seahawks? Seattle 3.5-point favorites, the total at 47.5. I can already tell you this is going to be one of my best bets for the weekend.
Yep.
I love Seattle, right? It sounds like you do as well, which maybe that should make us nervous, but
exactly. I was going to say, everybody I have talked to, both between BetQL and just friend circles at Gambles, everybody keeps coming back with the same collective thought this weekend. How is Seattle only a 3.5-point favorite? And normally, when that game is played, I would go and say it's too good to be true. That's a line that's too good to be true. But I honestly, Alex, I think that there is a lot of belief that the Seahawks have been a lot of smoke and mirrors and that they were exposed versus the Bucs 2 weeks ago. But I'm going the other way, man. Like, the Raiders suck. They just suck. And if Melvin Gordon doesn't fumble the ball last week, I mean, remember, they lose that game 2 weeks ago. Derek Carr is crying after the game, crying with emotions. They found a team that sucked worse than them and the Broncos. The Seahawks, even if they weren't that great, are a tough team to beat in their own home, period. This Raider team, which seems so unprepared week to week, you mean to tell me if they're beating Denver, is going to go up to Seattle and beat a Seahawks team off the bye that doesn't make a lot of mistakes? We talk about Pete Carroll, the Coach of the Year award. Even at 3.5, I feel like this is a game the Seahawks win by at least a touchdown. I actually feel comfortable in the 3.5, not even a sweat at 3.5.
No question on the coaching advantage. I mean, it's not even close. The mismanagement and also just the play calling across the board could not be far more different from what we're about to see between these two coaching staffs. And, I understand that the Derek Carr takes some heat at times. It's unwarranted. He clearly is the only guy that's held that team together the last couple of years, and he gets a lot of credit for that. But they were uber fortunate to win that game last week against a bad Denver Broncos team. Josh McDaniel, the only worse coach than him is Nathaniel Hackett, okay? And they went up against each other last week, right? So I think I'm with you on Seattle minus the 3.5. I'll be curious to see if this line moves at all before we get to kickoff on the late Sunday window here. I think absolutely Seattle will be a very popular play, which, again, can kind of scare you a little bit. But I think it's warranted. This isn't one of those phony type of plays or anything like that. Give me the scenario where the Raiders are the better team where they win here. I mean, their defense is absolutely abysmal. They're still banged up. Darren Waller's on IR, as we know. That's one less offensive weapon. The best thing they got going offensively is Devontae Adams, but at times they've they've tried to get him the ball, and they haven't had success game in, game out doing it. Yeah, he is still a threat, but they haven't had a stretch of 2 or 3 games where he's been dominant this year. And then Josh Jacobs is the next best weapon, and I think that's an area where Seattle can slow down is the running game. So I like Seattle. I think you make a great point about just the home and away difference here. You go to Denver a week ago or 2 weeks ago versus what you see in this atmosphere. And you don't really have the home field advantage even in Las Vegas at times. So I like Seattle minus the 3.5. This will be a very popular play for a lot of people, and for Geno Smith probably if you look at his touchdown numbers, when he throws multiple touchdowns, he throws more than 2 of them. That's what's kind of weird. If you take a look at multiple games this year, it's a weird prop that's going for him.
Yeah, I completely agree. And again, I mean, where do you? Because Alex, first time I ever worked with you. Have you ever been scared out of a bet you loved so much based on the public sentiment? Like, before I talk to anybody, I'm talking about Monday, very early look-ins. I did this show on Tuesday. I scanned the spread. We all do this, right? As bettors and talkers, we look. And the one thing I circled and kept dotting was the Seahawks. And I have to admit, less than 48 hours ahead of kickoff of this game, there is a feeling inside of me that I could see myself over the next 2 days scared out of actually pulling the trigger on this game. Like, I almost have to play this game tonight to make sure that I don't talk myself out of it.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I think it happens a lot in the NFL this year, too, because of the results we've seen. It's not just every year, of course, you're keeping an eye on the public and also where everybody's at. But this year in particular, we have seen such tight margins in these games. We have also just seen how the public has fared, not well, by the way. For much. I think it was the first 6 weeks of the season was the worst start for the public in 20 years. Now, there's some debate on what is really the public, what is not. I've talked to some people in the sports betting space that have been in it a lot longer than I have, frankly, and they have mentioned that there's always some stuff that can get misconstrued with public versus sharps, and where are we getting that information from, right? The books are the ones that we're relying on to tell us where the public money is coming in. Why are we supposed to believe that that's always factual, that that's always true? So that's always what I keep in mind in the back of my head. Well, yes, the public, but is it really the public or not?
Right, I agree. But that's why I'm totally with you. And people warn you about some of your trusted Twitter accounts you follow and people you follow, what books are feeding them
Definitely.
what and all of that. But I think I do it more so like it's just like my own crowdsourcing. And that maybe that's a terrible mistake, right? My 10 buddies from Long Island plus the 5 guys I talk to on BetQL that I trust more may not completely represent the way the whole country is betting. But I'm telling you, like every single person I have talked to for 3 days, I don't even have to say, hey, who do you like in the Raiders Seahawks game? It's what are you thinking for this weekend? What's your favorite play? And it's like 15 for 15. Seahawks laying the 3.5. Seahawks laying the 3.5. I have to admit, it scares me because it's not like I'm getting my Seahawk feeling based on everybody else saying that. I had my own feeling on the game, and it's scaring me out of it. It ultimately won't scare me out of it because the last thing you want to is everybody else making a dime that you could have
Yes,
made,
yes.
and you've been talked out of it as well. But it is a little odd. It is odd of how it's. They don't have those tall buildings in Vegas for nothing, Alex. Like clearly they're onto something, and there's those plays every week we talk about. I feel like this could be a mistake read by the lines. I really do.